very first things, and you've heard this, is morale. So it's one of the first things that if you have to reclassify somebody, there is, as Ann said, there's prestige that goes along with being a salaried exempt employee. So it cannot be in any way, shape, or form as they're getting demoted, that you don't appreciate them. So that's a big thing, is how do you want to handle that conversationally with these employees who you may have to reclassify. So keep that in mind, that they may feel like this is something that is against them, that they aren't performing in the manner in which you want them to be performing. But that's not the case. It's really just about their pay. So the term I'm using, Ann, is the pay category. It's a categorization. Right? So that's one thing I want you to keep up. This is supposed to be an employee who could feel slapped in the face, and we don't want them to be feeling that way. That morale will affect the productivity. So that's a big thing for you to keep in mind. I think we've covered tracking time really well. And you'll have, if you aren't having your employees that are tracking their time on a daily basis, you're going to have to figure out a mechanism for that, some kind of method for them to start doing that. Anybody who's been salaried for years has not tracked time for years. So they are going to have to create a new habit and new discipline.
One question real quick, actually, Ann, if you had salaried employees as of December 1st, 2016, that are determined that they need to be hourly paid in the past 3 years has worked overtime, are they liable?
Well, is it because they were improperly classified? I mean, if they were, so if it was just the salary test goes up December, if that's all, if they were properly classified as exempt, but they made between 23 and 47, you're home free.
Okay.
If you discover they were already misclassified, heaven help you, it's complicated because, and you're going to need some help and guidance about how you're going to navigate those conversations with employees, because we're going to hope that they're not going to come back for pay. I had this conversation with someone yesterday, and they said, well, they never worked any overtime at all. And like Barry's company, they tracked time for client purposes. So you're good to go. They're not going to have a client. But there will be some employees who will figure out, gee, I was misclassified, I'm owed overtime, and you're going to have help figuring that out. It's an issue. It won't happen a lot, but it'll happen.
Could be out
Kim?
10 o'clock through a payroll system, company, perfect. And you said something about having them sign it weekly. Does that mean we should print it out every week and have them
There
sign
needs to
it?
be some mechanism for the employee to check their time and say it's accurate. So either sign something.
Electronic signature is fine.
Because the reason is because you don't want them to be able to later say, well, I didn't sign off on that, that's not what I worked overtime.
Can you not do
It's to
that?
protect the employee.
Can you not do that for pay period? Because that's when they're actually approving it, so it doesn't really have to be
Yeah.
weekly.
Yeah,
Just when,
okay.
yeah, because they're approving the pay that
Approving
you were
it.
giving them.
Yes, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, but I think that to your point, when you brought up earlier, is you really want to make sure it's specific times. Like, well, people have to clock out for lunch now. They get reclassified. And that's something that a salaried exempt employee in the past has never had to do.
What about smoke breaks and all that, I mean?
Go back to your employee handbook and what is it about breaks that you would allow? Because typically breaks like that are paid,
And you may stipulate it in your handbook.
but meal breaks are not. All right, so again, you'll have to look at some of your practices and some of your policies with that. But that's an excellent question, everybody. We didn't have that on that slide, just look at your meal breaks and what does your employee handbook say about that? Okay, anything else?
When the employees turn in their, electronically turn in their time every week, does that have to be reviewed by the supervisor or by the county bookkeeping person?
It's best if it's reviewed by the supervisor, because otherwise it's just to protect the employer. If you have 1,000% confidence that what someone turns in is good, and you don't need a supervisor to look at it, that's fine. But for the protection of the employer, you generally would look at it and make sure that it's an accurate reflection, because you're getting ready to pay for it. But it's for your protection.
Maybe for us, someone went way over budget, then we go back and, you know, but it's not, you know, you can't tell, you can't really approve anything that week because you don't know where that project is in progress.
Right. So I'd say, however, it makes sense for your company, the purpose of it is to protect the employer.
So, sign timesheets, all right? So everybody, one of the concerns here is getting the work done, and I know that both Ann and Vicki have covered some of this, but if we have to reclassify some of the jobs or move some of the duties around, or some of the responsibilities around, who's going to do that work? How is that work still going to get done? What I haven't heard in here yet is, there is an option that you hire more employees. So you can hire more employees to help you with this, but that, the work still has to get done somehow for all of you. Think about what you're doing in retail, think about what you're doing in terms of the restaurants, think about banking. I don't know how things are with your schedules in banking, so there's some things for you to consider. But that is something that people can do, is to hire some more employees, make sure the work gets done. On the benefits, I'm gonna put benefits and recruiting, I'm gonna talk about those two at the same time. Sometimes, again, you're gonna have to look at your practices and your policies, is some of you have benefits that a salaried employee gets, the perks, but an hourly employee has not gotten those. Some of us are using perks and benefits to recruit employees. So what you're gonna have to really look at in your recruiting practices as well as in your benefits is there's no discrepancies between what hourly employees are getting and some of your salary employees are getting. This is part of morale as well, so this is a different kind of conversation because it goes back to prestige. I'm a salary employee, I'm an exempt employee, I get this. It's not the way it's going to work for all employees anymore. So that's just something for you to keep in mind. And I wanted to see if you two had anything to say about the recruiting aspect or just that.
Oh, well, certainly, I mean, because recruiting depends on what you're targeting.
Mhm.
If you're targeting millennials, you have a certain, you know, bag of tricks you're offering, and then if you're looking for a more stable or, I like to say, seasoned workforce. Mature, I mean, they may not want benefits, they've already got something, they're just looking for, but you need to be able to look at the total scheme of things, because one, it's costing you money, but on the other hand, just by saying, well, we only want, oh, by the way, you can't just say, I only want to hire young people. Does anybody know that there's a law on that? I think we've forgotten it in the United States, but by the way, that starts at age 40. So,
I'm gonna just cover some on perks. Some of you may have to get really creative, some of these perks, some of these other benefits that you want to use in terms of recruiting or to be deemed as a real benefit. So again, think about what that could be for certain employees and certain levels and certain classifications of employees in terms of what their roles in the company. So I'm gonna keep moving on, because I'm gonna cover these two next things together too. Flexibility, and then I call it the technology tether. We can work 24 hours a day. So some of your employees that you reclassify, let's say they're working at 8 o'clock tonight, right? But they're supposed to be paid for every hour worked, but they're on their phones or they're answering emails or they're doing something. You will have to make sure that you have a method in place to be able to track that time so that they get paid. So with all of this technology, we're able to work 24/7 at any place in the entire world, right, Adrian? Adrian works in France, right? So think about what that would mean. Okay, if you have to reclassify some of your employees. So this is a big deal. So while the flexibility is great, if you start changing someone's schedule and now I used to be able to work at home or I used to be able to flex my time, you may now have to put in limits around people's days so they only work within certain times of the day. That may not go over as well. So people really enjoy the flexibility, especially as an exempt employee.
So for your non-exempt employees, you don't want them emailing work and looking at taking work home and checking their phones and doing emails on their phone for a non-exempt employee. That raises all these issues of how you track and pay that time.